Deep inside a dark, cold dungeon cave, Manager and his team advanced cautiously. The ground was covered with the broken remains of defeated monsters. Leon spoke calmly, in other words. Most of the gates will close if we clear the quest or defeat the boss. Lionheart's eyes gleamed with interest as he added, a duel with the boss. I like it. Hanhari smiled beside him but thought to herself that she was unable to tell him that they usually gang up on bosses. Leon looked around at the numerous monster corpses scattered everywhere and murmured, I know they told me that they've tried clearing the dungeons before, but it seems like there's a lot more monsters than I thought. Hanhari replied, oh, that's the characteristic of this dungeon. Leon asked curiously, the characteristic? The pink-haired girl stepped forward and explained, yeah. While the number of monsters usually decreases as you defeat them with most gates, in the case of skeletons or zombies, or even demons in special cases, as long as the boss monster is still alive, they'll infinitely respawn. Leon folded his arms, his expression turning serious. Interesting. That means that things will only end if we defeat the boss. I understand. He then asked, then this must be one of those boss dungeons, right? Hanhari replied, yes, that's most likely. It's probably a necromancer that controls skeletons. Before she could finish her sentence, a bright red system window suddenly appeared in front of everyone. The system notification flashed with a warning. A dungeon break has begun. Death has been sentenced. All living beings within the gate will now have a time limit. The Commander Knight, Dullahan, is advancing with his troops. Defeat the Commander Knight, Dullahan. Time remaining, 3 hours 00 minutes. The moment the notification appeared, the entire dungeon began to shake violently. Kim Jisu's face twisted with rage as he shouted angrily, Lee Yongwan, you bastard. He continued furiously, you should have told us if there was something like that ahead of time. In the distance, a terrifying figure emerged. A giant black-armored Dullahan with glowing blue eyes, riding a skeletal horse, stood atop a high hill. Below him, an endless army of undead skeletons and monsters surged forward like a black tide, their eyes glowing with eerie light. The system window updated. Defeat the Commander Knight, Dullahan. Time remaining, 2 hours 58 minutes. The team immediately went into high alert. One of the members shouted in shock, there's so fucking many. A teammate asked nervously, sir, should I distribute the potions? The manager replied firmly, focus on giving them to the upper ranks. Manager called out urgently, Mashiki. How many archers and mages are there? Mashiki answered quickly, right now, I see 30 archers and 2 mages. The manager gripped his weapon and commanded, those with a sniping skill, take care of the long-ranged mobs first. He then shouted loudly to the team, anyone with a shield, stop them from advancing. The endless army of undead skeletons marched forward like a black tidal wave, their glowing eyes illuminating the dark dungeon. The manager turned his back to his team, raised his large shield, and shouted with a fierce grin. Good luck, you fuckers. The battle erupted violently. A skeleton warrior swung its sword with terrifying speed. The tank blocked it powerfully with his shield and roared. Ha! He smashed the skeleton apart with a heavy strike. However, his expression quickly changed. They're stronger than I thought, he muttered in surprise. I guess the orange gates really are different. He steadied himself and declared confidently. However, they're not too much for a B-rank tank like me to handle. But at that moment, a powerful magical spell from the enemy mages struck him directly. Blue and purple magical circles exploded around him. The tank's eyes widened in shock as he was blasted backward. Damn it, he cursed angrily. For mere skeletons to actually have advanced spells. He quickly recovered and shouted loudly to draw the enemy's attention. I need to grab their attention. Here. Over here. A powerful necromancer skeleton floating in the air unleashed a devastating spell. A massive blue magic circle formed, and a beam of destructive energy shot toward him. The tank was hit hard again, but he endured the pain and muttered through gritted teeth. "It's fine, it's just a little sting. You should know, this gear is expensive." With a roar, he charged forward through the explosions, smashing his way toward the giant commander. Dullahan. But he got stripped away in an instant by Dullahan. Kook? Cock. Cough. Cough. Hanhari cried out in alarm. Section Chief Kim. The team members shouted desperately, "We need to save him, Assistant Manager Han. Should we have the reserve forces help?" Hanhari thought, this is what the reserve forces are for. We need to help them now. The situation grew more chaotic as powerful sword lights and explosions lit up the battlefield. Someone yelled, "How is that guy moving so fast? Stop him!" Hanhari and others turned toward Lionheart and pleaded urgently. "My lord! Please help us!" Lionheart stood with his arms crossed, looking at the battle with a calm but cold expression. He replied, "A king should never join a small battle like this." The team members were stunned. Hanhari looked at him in disbelief and exclaimed, "Ha? What do you mean?" "Look for ways to build your honor," Leon said. He continued with frustration in his voice, "I can't believe you'd try to force me to help take on those damned bones. It's rude to the goddess too. I can't make myself watch any more of this." Hanhari was shocked. She exclaimed in disbelief, "What the hell is he saying?" She turned to the dark-haired girl beside her and asked desperately. The dark-haired girl replied to Hanhari, "Assistant Manager Han, what should we do?" Hanhari clenched her fists tightly, sweat dripping down her face as she thought, "I don't have time to waste. This man has no intention to help." Hari thought, "Doesn't seem like he has any interest except on the Dullahan." Leon thought, how does the undead move like that? The situation grew even more critical. Someone shouted, "We need to stop the Dullahan first." Hanhari immediately stepped forward with strong determination and declared, "I'll take care of the boss." She turned to the rest of the team and ordered, "Everyone else, please support Section Chief Kim and our allies." With explosive speed, Hanhari charged straight into the battlefield. She passed through the horde of skeletons and jumped by stepping on the face of a skeleton. She spun rapidly through the air like a whirlwind and unleashed a powerful spinning attack, creating massive explosions that scattered the horde of skeletons in all directions. She tried to attack the Dullahan, but her attack was stopped by Dullahan with his great sword. Hari thought she needed to do whatever it takes to separate the Dullahan from the crowd of skeletons. Dullahan throwed his head back to block Hari's view and then struck the Hari with a punch. As she fell back, she thought, thank God she managed to separate it from the rest. She then said softly, "Sorry. The range of my skills are just too large." She launched a massive fiery attack, creating a huge explosion that engulfed a large group of undead. The skeletons screamed in agony as they were destroyed. Hanhari continued her relentless assault with fierce determination and thought that, she got it. She prepared her strongest attack and thought, this should be able to finish it. She dashed forward at blinding speed and swung her sword with all her strength toward the Commander Knight Dullahan. However, the Dullahan instantly raised its massive sword and perfectly blocked her attack. Despite the overwhelming pressure, Hanhari refused to back down. She held her sword in one hand and took a refined combat stance, her eyes locked on her opponent. The Dullahan swung its heavy sword with tremendous force. Hanhari met the attack head-on, creating a massive clash of blue energy that lit up the entire battlefield. She was pushed back by the impact and groaned in pain, "Ugh." From the sidelines, Leon watched the fight with sharp eyes and said with admiration, "Impressive." He continued, "This exquisite sword skill despite only using one hand." Leon then added, "I'm sure you were a noble knight at one point." Leon stepped forward, his presence radiating authority. He placed his hand on his chest and spoke respectfully, "Allow me to apologize." He continued, "To think that I would mistake a great knight like you for a mere undead." Leon then raised his voice and declared loudly toward the Dullahan, "Unknown knight. I, the king of the Lionheart, will give you the right to challenge me. The giant Dullahan stood silently for a moment, its blue flames flickering. Leon walked confidently toward the boss and said, "There's no need to have more troops be injured. Let us end this fight with a noble duel between two knights." The rest of the team watched in complete shock. Hari and the others stared with wide eyes. Hari thought he challenged the boss to a duel. There's no way that would. The Dullahan remained silent for a moment before slowly raising its sword. Everyone thought at the same time, it worked.